and it's Monday, April 14th. So I think we're on the sixth week of The Complete Agent. I have a little quote for today's session. You're not just listing a home, you're guiding someone through one of the biggest decisions of their life. Every showing, every call, every follow-up is a step toward changing someone's future. Be the agent who leads with confidence, clarity, and care. We are talking the listing or the seller's journey today. But first, let's just do a review of where we're at. We have Emily Perry with us. Emily, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. And we also have Sandra McKenna. Hey, Sandra. Oh, I don't think I can hear you there. Try one more. Still not. I'll let you figure that out while I kind of go over the overview. You can pop in. Just check your mic settings, maybe. I know you're unmuted, which is fine, but maybe your mic settings is set up differently. So I'll get you all set up there. But just as an overview, you're in the life of Emily and Sandra, and this is going to help us go through the complete agent program and really look at every aspect of an agent's business and making sure that we're tidying up or put implementing new stuff. Especially Emily being the year and a half in the business, really working hard at foundationally getting all our systems set up. Or Sandra, who has been in the business for 4+ years and has had great success. So she's right, going full bore. And what can she do just to put in a few, extra sources of income and or get back to the basics and get some foundational programs set up to have success. And it's just nice having that mirror into or the view into somebody else's career to see if there's some nuances and people that are experiencing the same either frustrations or same obstacles or the same successes. That always helps, right? Have some clarity. How's the sound going, Sandra? Mm-mm, that's not good. So check when you do bring down and go to your audio settings, do a maybe a test speakers and microphone and see if you can work your way. I just lost mine. There we go. I was playing around with the audio settings. So yeah, let's just see what happens. We'll start off with Emily anyway there, Sandra. So our agenda is going through the complete agent is we want to look at every week activities that Emily and Sandra are doing, as well as yourselves. What are you doing every week in order to stay in contact with as many people as you know, as well as getting out there, meet new people, making your sphere of influence calls, working with your CRM, following up on prospects, working with listings and any buyers you have. We are putting it all together in something called the playbook, which is really quite interesting. I haven't seen this ever in any system in any agent's business. So this is groundbreaking. We've put together something called Bookstack, and what it is all your standard operating procedures and checklists and quick references to things that you're going to be able to use templated from us. So we're going to build that out. And then if at the end, anyone would like to take that, we can make a copy over, have your own URL and your own playbook. And then you can change it. So you can change your standard operating procedures and say, yeah, that's a great listing presentation as a template, but here's my listing presentation. Here's my buyer's journey, seller's journey, procedures, everything. So you can start actually customizing it, which is quite unique. So you can always, revert back to all of the things that you're doing as a business plan and everything. And then always want to talk about market opportunities every week, right? Like what's happening in our market today, and then going through those 12 weeks of productivity. Kind of, we started off with mindset, making sure that our environment's set up, make sure that our mindset is in the right direction, and our organization of all of our daily routines. So things that you use in terms of your calendar and making sure you're time blocking and all the rest. We did a personality assessment. So if we go back to Emily's personality, she's an influencer. She's out there, obviously infectious, and people want to work with her. There are things with influencers that she discovered. Well, she probably knew anyway, that she innately, would work on, as well as Sandra being a networker, just connecting people, being the person of connections and and then again, a full personality. And we did that through Tony Robbins' website, just as a review. Okay. Then we went into accountability and business planning, and we always do accountability and business planning in January's, because, every year. I don't know if that's really a word. Can you say January's? I don't think you can. Maybe multiple Januaries. Yeah. Book of business. So your sphere of influence is your book of business, and always reverting back to every single relationship you ever had should be organized so you can quickly pull up the information, make the most of it, and then organize yourself to make reach outs and calls, and make sure that you identify your highest and most important people, your A clients, your A relationships, which are people, they're advocates. And by the way, if Emily, if you don't have any A people because you haven't yet got a referral that has a closing, that doesn't mean you don't have A's. There are people out there in your sphere that you can identify today as an A because they're an advocate of yours, or that they're the person that everyone goes to for information. They're the person that they're always suggesting, where the best restaurant is or where the best hairstylist is. Those are considered A's because if you build out that relationship, they will spread the word, right? And then we get into, paid advertising for new business, which we really haven't got into that. What we're actually doing is if you go down, create, review, buyer presentation, listing presentation, we're actually looking at buyer journeys and seller journeys. And that's a whole gamut of stuff. So it's a big section. And we looked at the buyer journey last week and the buyer presentations. Are you hosting open houses? And the playbook update we did. I did add one extra thing to the buyer journey from last week in the playbook. So we're going to look at the playbook and then you can have a look at it. And that was winning in multiple offers. I just happened to be in a section of our training, and I thought that would be a really good one for the buyer journey. Is if you're representing a buyer in a situation where there is other offers, how do I win? How do I win that presentation? So I added that as well, so it's in there now. So this week we are going to do a quick review. I want to talk to Emily first. Emily, what's going on in the market right now? What are you seeing? I saw, we'll go over to your spreadsheet for accountability and see all the actions you did. What is it that you were doing last week? And did you notice any shifts or changes at all in the market? Did I lose you? I think there you are.
Hi, I had to come in on my phone because my computer just completely froze. It looks like he's like taking it over.
Everybody's having
So I
technical
apologize.
problems
Yeah.
today. Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah.
Emily, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, what was the question?
Oh,
Because
yeah,
you
I guess you
froze
didn't
on
hear
my
that.
end too. Yeah.
Well, what I'll do is I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to
Uh-huh.
go over to the complete agent accountability. You've been filling in the spreadsheet,
I have been, yeah.
and which is great. And I just noticed there was a lot of numbers in heavy areas here. So
Yeah.
why don't we start market wise? Like, have you seen anything shifting in the market? You're out there talking to people. Has
Yeah.
anything changed or
So I
shifted?
did a number of open houses both last weekend and this weekend, and I would say definitely warmer weather, more people are coming out for sure. I wouldn't say I would say some areas are getting more activity than others for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Keswick is doing really, really well, and I feel like
Yeah, and then you're probably back.
Sutton's kind of dead. So um,
So it's spotty.
it is very spotty still. A lot of people are still asking the question like crazy, what do you think is going to happen with the next rate drop? What's going to happen? And it's like, okay, you guys are never going to start. Like, when are you going to jump ship? Yeah.
No, sorry, I was just checking to see who needed mute. Sandra's on a different feed. It's funny, eh? She's got a different feed going. Anyway, sorry if there was a little bit of glitch there. But yeah, what are you telling them? What's your dialogue right now? It's not a script, but what is it that you're saying when people are asking what's happening in the market, like what's going to happen?
Well, I mean, like if you're talking about the rate and you're concerned that it might drop further, but you're planning on selling, you're not closing until 3 months from now anyways. There will be two additional rate drops till before then.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. Yeah. Don't
It's
have a
like
crystal
tomorrow.
ball.
I feel
But
like
yeah,
it,
like there's two more rate announcements between now and even a 60-day close. So yeah.
you know what? I almost, you it depends, I guess, on the person, right? If it's a
Yeah.
first-time home buyer or somebody that's looking to get in as an investor or somebody that's looking to sell their
Mhm.
house and downside, like it's a different answer, right? How it affects them.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think a lot of people are just kind of waiting for the market just to improve in general. Um, like they don't want to be that house that's sitting on the market for 30 days, 40 days trying to sell. So they'd rather just not do anything.
it's
And
interesting you say that, Emily, because most agents here are in the same boat, what you just said, like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, 30, 40 days. Guess what the average on a normal market is?
I think in my area it's 38 days right now.
It's 38 days, so that would be on the higher side. The
Hmm.
average is around 28 to 32 days. If for a normalized market, for something that's an equal market of buyers and sellers and it's very healthy, just 28 to 32 is the average. So we're just above average in your area. And I know there's areas higher, and of course, don't even get into condos. But the reality is, we were blessed with such an amazing market for sellers for the last
Hmm.
10 years. People got used to the average of 1 week, 2 weeks, 14 days, that sort of thing. And that was overheated. So sometimes it's the normalization that you can let people know, hey, we're actually getting into more of a normal market than what it was in the past, right?
Hmm.
We just have to adjust our mindset. So
Yeah. I think the other conversation I'm trying to have is like people who are concerned that they're not going to be able to sell their house for enough. I'm like, but you're not exiting the market. You're going, it's a lateral move pretty much.
yeah.
You might be increasing the size or decreasing the size of your property. You might sell for, more than what you are choosing to buy for. But essentially, if you're selling low, you're also buying low.
Yep.
It's the
Yeah.
same as like the stock market. So,
Emily, every time we talk, it's like I'm talking to a seasoned veteran. Like you're saying the right things, which is great.
hey, I was 10 years in mortgages, okay?
Well, that does help, let's
So
be
it
honest.
definitely helps.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Um, let's look at your actions. So
Yeah,
you did 12 pop buys.
I did.
That's awesome, by the way. How did that go?
Yeah, honestly, everybody's responding really, really well. Some of them are great. Some of them it's like, oh, I've missed the ball. So one I took to a client or a potential client who's like, yeah, you know what, his mom's dying. My parents are like sick in Scarborough, so we're not moving to Muskoka anytime soon. And I'm like, oh, okay, that was like a really good potential lead. And it still will be, and I'll continue to nurture it. So that's kind of disappointing, but that's part of it. You keep coming by, you keep being friends, you keep staying in touch. Another one I missed the ball. And to be honest, I wasn't in touch enough with them. And I found out they already have an agent that they're working with. So well, we'll see what happens. Um,
Are they signed with that agent or are they just working with that agent?
I don't know because it was his mother who answered the door. It's a couple and the mom lives with them. So I don't know for sure. I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet or his
Those
wife.
are, those are two potentials. And can we practice a dialogue there? I'm not sure
Yeah,
what,
for sure.
how you mentioned it or when you pop by what the mindset was. But when you do speak to those people, you had mentioned, oh, I'm not buying or not selling. What do you say? What do you say, when they say something like that, or you find that out? What sort of reaction and what's your dialogue response?
Well, anytime I go with a pop by, I'm always going on of, you know what, I'm staying in touch with you. It's, spring. I wanted to give you a little gift to say, welcome to spring. I know the winter's been long. Let's, and then I kind of slowly ease into, by the way, I remember that you mentioned this in this case they were friends with my mom. You mentioned to my mom that you were thinking about selling. How is that going? Have you decided to put your house on the market soon? And so then just kind of letting them lead into it. In this case, she said, oh, Ryan's already been working with an agent in Newmarket. I think she said it was from Keller Williams. Um, she didn't mention a name. Um, I don't know. Like they've been looking at houses in Sharon. That's all I know.
Okay.
So I don't know if they have a signed buyer agreement. They don't have it listed yet.
And you don't know if last night they didn't call them back and they've been rude to them and they've decided not to use them. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
so unless they're signed, you're not inferring a contract. And the second thing is, I want you to think about pop buys as, and everyone's different, right? I love the fact you're ABCing, like always be closing,
Hmm.
always bring, you know. However, when a pop buy, the purpose of the pop buys really wanted to be, oh no, this is what I just give all my friends, right? This is what I give
Hmm.
everybody I know. This is just the way I do,
Yeah.
you know, have that mentality. And so when people are, because they do, they'll immediately, oh, hey, Emily, by the way, that house. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm just here to give a gift, you know, well, you know,
Yeah.
like you said, welcome to spring sort of
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah. So in that case, like I'll kind of, if I know there's something real estate related, I'll kind of ask something adjacent so that I can hopefully steer the conversation that way. But yeah, it's just basically like winter's been long enough. Here's a spring gift. It's
And
so good to see you, kind of thing.
sphere of influence calls, you're continuing to make them. That's amazing. This is
Hmm.
like the every week need to update the CRM, need to, you know, make it better. So you made 6 calls, which is good. You know, the
Yeah.
consistency of that will get it all done. Where are you at? Your number? What's your number?
For which
Numbers of contacts with addresses. That's all. Whenever I say what you're at,
addresses?
what's your number, it's addresses and contacts.
I think addresses I'm about 115,
Okay.
and then emails I'm about 300 roughly.
So I take the 115 and if, you know, and say 20 deals. That's where your projected income is. That's what you're heading for.
Hmm.
Heading for 20 deals now. So you've got the lion's share of contacts and information. You've set up newsletters, so that's the next one. You're mailing those newsletters. You had 104, right? So now you're up to
Yeah.
115. Um, so that's just going to start taking off with time, right? Like
Yeah.
reminding, and that sort of thing. You set that up with kits, did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And were you able to utilize some of their, you know, different demographic, different because they have different ways to put them in the system, right? And then
Yeah.
ask those questions.
Yeah, like in some cases I'll kind of say, okay, they have kids or they're empty nesters. And then there's also an age demographic one. And then condo or freehold is another one because I know they'll customize it based on if it's a condo property that the person lives in. Yeah, just
Perfect.
kind of as
And you're
much as
doing
I
the
can.
auto newsletter program. And in
Yeah.
the auto newsletter program for everybody in Remarketer, it is something that just sends out. It's a GTA based newsletter. So there's newsletters that Kingston also has, and also with Hamilton that are done. You have to go in and initiate it. It takes 2 seconds to do. The other thing is, have you built out anything in Remarketer as a newsletter? It's called newsletter in Remarketer, but more as
Mhm.
a an email to send out. Um,
Yeah,
as
so
yeah,
in
not a
the
newsletter, you know what I
SOI
mean?
email that came out, what is it, week two, that 87 people I got, that was a St. Patrick's Day themed email kind of thing, just saying, I'm lucky to have you as a friend. I would be so lucky to have your referrals, and they would be lucky to have somebody who would take such good care of them, luck of the Irish kind of thing.
One of the things I'd love for you to try
Yeah.
is a an email that's got something of value that's not as branded. It's more of, hey, you got to check this out, that sort of thing. And the best ways to do it is to combine a video, because I know you don't mind being on video. So
Yeah.
you could just hit record, whether it's on your phone or whatnot, and just say, hey guys, I just wanted to let you know, with the spring market, I've been keeping an eye on, let's say, I'm just going to give an example. I've been keeping an eye on the huge decrease in price in the cottage properties. You know, that market has taken such a hit. It presents a huge opportunity for those looking.
Hmm.
I know that's not always easy right now with a good, but you might, know somebody, or maybe you're in the situation, but check this one out. It's in Muskoka, and I also put one in Halliburton. It's $8.99 on the water, like crazy good deal. I just wanted to run it by you just in case. Let me know if you're ever looking up in that area. I've got great contacts up there. Just something like that. And it's interesting when we do I did that again, do when we do that with other people in the office. I often get people coming back, oh my gosh, I got somebody that's interested, right? And it could be cottage properties, it could be pre-construction properties, fix and flips, anything that fix and flips aren't the greatest market right now, but maybe you know um, the multifamily
Hmm.
style properties could be good. Definitely, handyman specials sort of thing. Like this is a power of sale property that holy geez, they're should get a good price on if you ever, whatever it is, right? Is an opportunity. Old heritage homes, like there's so many different style of properties you could send something out for. So
Hmm.
be specific, like once a month, send something just creative like that because people will start not wanting, or sorry, I'm going to say that's, I don't want to be double negative here. I want to say they will start looking forward to your emails because they're like, when's she going to send another opportunity? I love those, right?
Hmm.
So that's
Okay.
something to think about.
Yeah, I have a lot of people who I'm already kind of like soft buyers that are looking for cottages. So I think that would be really great because I'm already looking at them anyway. So
Are you?
it's a
Yeah.
great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's something I'm interested in too. Like obviously, just they're fun. Um, so you
Mhm.
got ahead of me a little bit and you called last week asking about geofarming.
Yeah.
So, which is great. We had a good conversation. We are going to get into that probably next week. As one of the sources that is very popular. It is something that's typically not for those of the faint of heart or pocketbooks because it does take effort, time, and money in order to put that in. So I usually like getting people foundationally set up and making sure that all those things. And you've got 115 people and you're doing everything. So I'm actually really confident that this is okay for you to, to dive into. But it does take a whole business plan in order to do, right?
Yeah.
A lot of aspects of geofarming that needs to be in place to be successful, and you're competing against other people, and you need to find out a lot of information, do your research with that. So you've selected 738 homes
Yep.
in an area, which is awesome. And we are going to put a pin in this one and like revisit. But tell it, maybe just go a quick overview of what you're doing there.
So this right now, it's really just beginner stages. Those are GeoFarm newsletters from Kits. Again,
Yep.
same kind of idea as the direct mail, but it's just using one of the Canada Post walks. Um, just have to set up like the postage each month, and then they will send it out for me to the entire area and just kind of blast it. And then I'm hoping to pair that with like door knocking or other things to get my presence known in that area. I'm starting with my neighborhood. And then I have some other ones that I'm keeping an eye on that I might add on once I start to get some success with it.
That's great. Yep.
Mhm.
Great. Let's put a pin in that. I mean, I think, you obviously got the upgrade, right? You went into Kits doing your newsletter, you said, oh, they have a geofarm program. This looks great. So, that's great. It really is. But we're
Mhm.
going to put a pin just to, because we could go down that road and just do another whole hour on it. Birthday cards.
Mhm.
I love the fact you have a birthday card program. This is
I
one
do. I actually just ordered my own custom birthday cards.
that's awesome.
So they have like my picture and logo on the back as well. So, and they have my own message. And yeah,
Awesome.
very me. Hmm.
I don't think I need to explain birthday card programs to people. You send birthday
Everybody
cards out
likes to
once a month.
get something small for their birthday or whatever. I either throw in like a lottery card, or I found these hot chocolate packets that say birthday on them from what is it, Gourmet whatever Village or whatever.
Yep.
And so I ordered them wholesale, and I'll stuff one of those in the card and everybody gets a hot chocolate.
Good. These are because you're really starting to put new systems in place and everything. You're going to have
Hmm.
sort of a bigger, load of things to put into the playbook when you get it, because
Hmm.
they're all great. They really proceduralized, system oriented, things that will go nicely in the playbook. We just want to make sure that we can build out the playbook as robust as possible before we hand it over to you to edit. So, make sure, yeah, well, again,
I've been making notes off to the side
yeah.
so I can start adding
Even
them
if you
once
put it
in a
in a
while.
Word document or something,
Mhm.
right? Um,
Yeah.
it's fine. So then open house, how did the open houses go on the weekend?
They were pretty good. One only got two, the other one got four. Three of the people who came through were with agents, so it's like,
Physically
okay,
with them?
yeah, physically
Okay.
with them. So it's like, okay, just go walk through. I don't,
That's
I'm
great.
out of this deal anyways, so just go
Perfect.
show your client the house. Um, but the other ones I'll follow up with and hopefully get
And you did a
something done.
networking event. What was the event?
Oh my gosh, this was weird. So I'm part of a social group called Ladies Supper Club in Newmarket, over 1,000 members, and you just post an event to go to. I decided I was going to go to Diaporama at Market Brewing. I showed up and nobody from the supper club was there, like nobody. And I had already donated two big cases of diapers and I had drink tickets in my hand and food tickets. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I know nobody here. And it was like people, like there's a motorcycle group and there was another, thing. They were all there and I was all on my own. So I asked these women, are you part of the club? And they're like, no, but if they don't show up, come join us. I ended up randomly joining four ladies for who I never met before for the night. It was a totally weird, surreal thing, but we got along fantastic, and now I have four new friends.
Wow.
So,
See, these like really, when you put yourself out there, these are, you know, the adage, what is it? Success is when preparation meets opportunity.
yeah.
And right. So you don't know where success is going to come from or luck. That's what it is. Luck.
Hmm.
Look, it's luck as when preparation meets opportunity. It's like you do the things that are right
Yeah.
to do, and then just good things happen. Maybe it's more serendipitous, I
I
guess.
think it's opportunity happens when life goes sideways and you just don't give up. You have a positive attitude and just go with it. Yeah. So it was a
Awesome.
great night. So, yeah.
No, that's really, really, really good.
Mhm.
Gonna move over to Sandra. See if she got her microphone all set up or not. If not, then
Can you hear me now?
yeah, absolutely. What was wrong?
Mark walked me through it.
Well, thanks, Mark.
My personal tech guy.
Okay, so you start off with your social media post, I guess. You did a bunch of posts. Was it specific to video or what was that all about?
No, I just kind of randomly post when I feel like it.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I did do an open house video yesterday. Yeah, for me, it's just whatever I feel like, honestly.
And for anybody who
Everything's
doesn't,
related to real estate, so.
yeah, if anybody's new to complete agent, Sandra's busy in other ways, right? In terms of actual business happening. So the things that you're doing in order to stay busy, especially in the sphere of influence side of things and whatnot, those are things so the things at the top here, the newsletters, the pop buys, the sphere of influence calls, that hasn't started for you yet. And I say started because I'm hoping to get, some of that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I will tell you, I've actually had Linus and I and my admin have been chatting this week, and we do have a bit of a game plan in place because I have put together, I have a whole spreadsheet of people I've done deals with, and I did get their addresses, birthdays, anniversary of the buy and sell, and their email addresses. So I've spent quite a bit of time
Amazing.
doing that. And so now we've got that organized. So we are going to start to do birthday cards and we're going to do some newsletters. I actually just sent a text to Linus, and because I thought Emily's idea was fantastic about the geo farming, because I do work for a builder and things are pretty slow, especially in new construction. And so I said to Linus, maybe we should geo farm that area with a newsletter, because we are planning to do door knocking. And so maybe just hit them up first and then go and do some door knocking with a bunch of people from the brokerage.
That's a
So
huge thing.
like I
That's
am
really good.
actually thinking, and I'm attempting to get this organized. So I'm hoping we're going to have that in place shortly.
That's amazing. Like obviously both, your sphere and getting all that birthday card stuff and everything going, because that is really foundationally sound. And then the geo farming for an area that you're working in and people already sort of know you, you're going to solidify yourself as the area expert or the area realtor, which is when you're talking about top producers, geofarming is leveraging more of a budget, and you're leveraging a bit of time too, because you're going to put together a nice business plan over it. But for the most part, you're working more like a business than you are necessarily as just a salesperson, right? You're treating your business like a business, and that's, I mean, the success that can come from that is huge, and it's scalable, right? You can just move as you get really good and sell some houses in one area, you just move outwards. So I can't wait till we talk about geofarming, because I think that's a fun topic. Still doing your internet leads and in open houses. What about successes? Tell us about some of the successes you had last week. You had a signed buyer and a sold buyer.
Yeah, I sold. Yeah, I had one of my buyers bought a house and we firmed it up on Friday, so that was good. I did pick up a new client from. Actually, I picked up a couple of. I got a couple of calls from Realtor.ca stuff. I've had some calls on some of my listing. I think I have a pretty decent lead now. Mind you, this is an agent, but from one of my listings in GAN. But I did pick up a new semi client. They're just not 100% sure whether they want to move yet. I did show them a house, but they have a condo to sell. But I sell a lot of condos in this building. Like I have 4 right now, one in my pocket, and then this one if so I am kind of the resident expert in this condo building. It's just slow. It's just slow. We're not getting any showings. These are pretty like they're decent price tag. So that's, it's tough right now. My builder is, wanting to see some results. I did do a model. I did the model home this weekend on Sunday. One of my teammates did it on Saturday. He had a pretty decent show. There was quite a few people there. We are getting a lot of people through. I think he had some good potentials. I definitely had 2 very good potentials on Sunday that I think will eventually probably purchase one of the models. But this is a slow go. When you work for a builder, it's not a quick thing. It takes time. People really think about it. You are back and forth with them a lot. There's a lot involved in it, and so it's not as quick to move. But my builder, wants to see what I'm doing. I have to be accountable to him. He wants to know, how I'm getting out there. What am I doing to advertise? He's looking at buying a couple of new pieces of parcels of property with the potential for thousands of houses, which, is really important to me and my team, because I obviously want that.
Yeah.
But I got to have some results, right, for him
100%.
to get there.
100%. A lot of times when you're so focused as a listing agent, trying to sell properties, becomes frustrating because the market is, tough to deal with. So you look at creative ways, and I think a lot of your focus too can really be put towards opportunities, and not that I say be a little bit selfish, but you have a business, right? And you want to make sure that those opportunities are there for whether it be yourself or your team members, and you leverage your listing, you do everything you can, because I know you do, and a lot of people will, but look at the opportunities from those listings, because they are gold, right? When you have listings, when you have your leads that come off of them and the people that come through, and I know you do this. I think it's more for others. I do notice sometimes, and not you, Sandra, but there are others that will list properties and they're so focused and frustrated on everything they could do to list the property. They're not looking at the other opportunities that come from the listing. So the ways you can work it, right? And you got to put the time aside for those opportunities too.
Yeah, I just think it's slow. Like, I mean, I have other people do my open houses at some of my other properties, and it was okay this weekend, but not fantastic. The weather was great yesterday, so I think that really deterred people from coming. But I'm also trying to get my own house up and ready to list, and so I'm working on that too. So that's kind of busy, keeping me a little focused. I'm trying to put some time and effort into that right now. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I'm finding the market a little frustrating right now. I mean, I've done a deal a week pretty much for the last couple of weeks, but which is great. But I just feel like the listings that I have, it's kind of stagnant right now. And I think that you know, that's frustrating for me. It's frustrating for my sellers. Because I feel like the market right now is really hot in the like under 400 price range. And, you know, those are the houses that are moving and selling and lots of buyers. But, you know, anything in the million is super quiet. So yeah, it's a little annoying.
Definitely can be for sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to what where our topic is this week. And I'm just going to put up the slideshow again. And then I'm going to share some of the things. Now, when we're talking about listings and we're talking about, you know, the seller's roadmap of that journey, these are the things that, you know, we've written down to say, you know, you've got to put this in perspective and in a value perspective for your sellers when you're doing a listing presentation, but also throughout the process and giving the great service. So, you know, our number one, I think, as agents, our number one job is to meet the expectations and exceed the expectations of our sellers or buyers. So this is a list of things that you want to put together so you can exceed that expectation level. So you get the referrals, you get the subsidiary business. So. And the first thing is having a good listing presentation, not unlike obviously the buyer journey, right? The better listing presentation you have, the more opportunity it is that you're going to get the listing and impress them. I know, Sandra, you sent me through some of the things you use and leverage in your listing presentation. Everyone's listing presentation is different. Everyone leverages different things about them as salespeople. You know, I know anything anywhere from somebody who will go in a hoodie and flip flops and just impress them with their charm, right? They just want to use that person because the confidence is there, the knowledge is there, and they just like, you know, they just like them, but have the confidence in them. And so, or somebody comes in, suit, tie, prepared, listing presentation, bound booklet, leave behind seller guides, all these things that can help and aid. And the only thing I can say is you'll develop your own and you'll better it as it goes. And you'll look for opportunities to improve. But if you right now are to the point where, yeah, it's not solid, or you're looking for an opportunity to have a bit more confidence behind you, having something that is sharp, prepared is so important. So we're going to look at that in a bit. I've put together, just so everybody is aware, you know, these are things that we've put down here as areas to look at. And then I've transferred that over to a whole section in the playbook that we're going to have a look at and really dive into each section as more of a procedural or checklist item. So whether it be the CMA that you also do at the listing presentation or the gift to give after. So those are all part of that. Give a great listing presentation, do the CMA, a thank you gift. And when you get the listing, obviously the preparation before the listing is even on the market. So staging, storage of furniture, rental, cleaning services, final touch-ups. I send access to a Google Drive, all documents. So being organized and having access to all the documents in a Google Drive. Marketing the listing from anything from our Spotlight marketing program, get it out and really promote it well online, to video productions and online marketing strategies, social media strategies, you know, both with Facebook, you know, pay-per-click. I say Facebook because really it's where you boost ads. You can do that through Back At You as well. Just listed postcards, just sold postcards, you know, and of course Back At You media as well. Great communication and feedback. So having a system for communication is actually probably my number one thing. I mean, we can do everything else really well, but if you communicate really well with your sellers, Sandra does a great job of that. There will be that awkward time when you have a listing. It's like, I don't even want to call my seller. I don't know what to tell them. You know, I just don't, you just feel that, but I got to do it. Pull the Band-Aid, because keeping that line of communication is really, really important. So the daily calls, I find out from the sellers of what they're comfortable with. Sometimes they're like, no, once a week check-in, because it's going to be a little bit of a long haul is fine. Seller listing alerts, so they're always finding the other properties. Like, you don't want the seller, you want to list a property and then the seller has to find out the house 3 doors down just went on the market and sold in 3 days, and You didn't call them to let them know that the competition, like what's happening. So you need to be aware of that. So keep sending them seller listing alerts. Being a strong negotiator, we do have certifications for negotiating. You know, it's one thing to say I'm a strong negotiator, another thing to say I'm certified strong negotiator. I always leverage, well, I think it's important to leverage those certifications because it helps. The actual move, you know, when they've sold the house, how is that moving process? It's that awkward time between firming up a deal and the closing of the deal that you don't have a lot of value to give them because, you know, you've done your job almost, but your job continues, right? So it's providing those support services. So helping them arrange their utilities and weekly check-in calls, see how things are going. And of course, closing day, what you do on closing day and the whole client care after, you know, what are you doing to provide that nice level of thank you and service as well. So that's a full list of the seller roadmap, putting it into a couple things that are just helpful. So when I'm going into the marketing checklist or the listing checklist, it's an aid, an opportunity to say, okay, I got the listing, and I know it says working with a realtor. I just put this up. This was last year's. I did fix it, I think, on the PDF. It's so obviously, you know, Rico Berkshire. But what do you do pre-listing activities to make sure everything gets done ahead of time? The preparation, the first day on the market, what you're doing to get it marketed and up and promoted. Week 1, so that's during the first week, every week after. And then what do I do when the presentation of offer comes in? I used to use this. The reason why I put this up here is this is literally one of my things that I would do for every listing personally. And I would call it ahead of time, either a listing marketing checklist or, you know, what was it? I did it as a marketing proposal originally. So when I would go on a listing presentation, I consider this as my proposal for the marketing program that I have for the listing. And then I turn it into a checklist after. And I sort of say, hold me accountable. Everything on here is going to get done, right? Like if you want to see that it's listed on 20 syndicated sites, hold me to it. I'll show you the sites, that sort of stuff. Those activity reports and everything. So your whole marketing and listing checklist should be put together based on what you're proposing and or promising to the seller. This becomes Schedule A, really, doesn't it, in the new Tressa, right? Tressa now makes, you know, full transparency. This is what I promised to do. You put it in as a Schedule A. I don't know too many agents that are this detailed on their Schedule A's that this would help you win a listing presentation, because if you have somebody go in again, maybe, you know, against you in the competition, and they don't have something like this, there's going to be a bit of a, well, you know, they say they're going to do all this, but this person's like literally contracting themselves to this, right? So I think this would be a good idea to use in the Schedule A. Our listing presentation is in the Google Drive, but it's now in the playbook too. So I'm going to show you guys, because I think it's just a better view of what we have all in one spot. I'm going to go over to the playbook. The playbook that we've developed for those on the complete agent training, so all of you listening now, we're giving a little bit of an insight into it before it's ready. And that insight, you can feel free, if you want, to go to heritageplaybook.ca, and you can, it'll be a sign up link. You're not signing in, you're signing up, but you can sign up for with your Century 21 email address. I'm going to show you what that looks like, because I want to explain. So I'm going to log out. It'll give you view access only, so you won't be able to edit. I don't know why it should be so hard to log out, eh? It's not like I'm loading anything. Come on, you can do it. Well, while it's logging out, I'll explain it a little bit more. So what it is,
I think last week they already sent the playbook link, right? That link, and just sign up. I think should be fine.
We'll see the experience, see if we can find it for you guys. Well, it didn't log me out. Look at that. Let's log out. There we go. So when you go to heritageplaybook.ca, you'll get a login screen. Okay. If you don't have an account, you can go don't have an account. And then you're going to sign up with Google. Don't worry about this one. Sign up with Google, right? It's your Century 21 email address. So if you sign up with Google, it'll go over to the Century 20 email address and then it'll sign you right in. Okay. I'm going to log in because I'm already signed up with my Google. And when you go to the front page, it's like a library, right? Where you have shelves with books on shelves and pages in the book and, even chapters in the book. So the first area is called shelves. And today we're going to look at the seller journey. Last week we did the buyer journey. And I'll show you what I added last week as well. So when you click on the buyer journey, we went through the buyer presentation and showing propers, offers, closing day, Realtor for Life program, CMAs. I added in the offer section, winning in multiple offers. So if you're in a situation where in multiple offers, we have a procedure for preparing, finding and researching the property, understanding the bully offers, writing a strong offer, communication, managing expectations, post-offer etiquette, and then there is a full video that I did training for winning in multiple offers. And if you click on that, it goes to the welcome to the winning in multiples. So it'll train you how to do that. So that's all in there. Let's go back. Now what we're going to look at is the seller journey. And what we've put in there, the first thing that I was going over was the listing presentation. So if you click on listing presentation, you have the digital version of the presentation and then you have the print version. The difference is, of course, print's going to be easier to print when it's a little shorter, where digital, big screen will look better on the big screen. So the digital listing presentation is in there, and I'm going to open it up to show you guys. Your digital presentation is really your seller journey, right? You're explaining to them the value that you're going to be bringing to your listing. And this is templated, and I know Emily has done a buyer presentation. You haven't done yet the listing presentation, right, Emily, or have you?
I have two, and I'm merging them in
Perfect.
progress.
You're in progress. This is the whole part, like the reason for the complete agent is to revisit and get everything ready. So, and it goes through who you are, explaining who you are, explaining your company and the support you have behind you. The global reach is always a big one with Century 21 as a value, reaching out to the different countries across the world. And service benefits of the MLS. I put this in here originally because there was a lot of for sale by owners and people going property guys and stuff like that. I'll be honest, we don't even talk about that anymore. And maybe it's different in Kingston and Hamilton because I think it was a bit stronger in those areas. But I got to tell you, that whole industry has, I don't know, what do you guys say? I just don't see it anymore. I don't see people doing, we were all worried. Remember back 10 years ago, we were all worried that everybody was they can list on, by putting their name and their number on the realtor.ca. Do you ever see that anymore? And the answer is no. And why? Because we were right when we talked about it. We provide so much value and we get such a higher price for those sellers, and representing buyers is so important that it just doesn't happen anymore. Right. But anyway, I tell the benefits of what the MLS data sheets, I can explain a little bit how it works because a lot of people don't understand what MLS even means, or realtor.ca, etc. Exclusive listings. I just let them know we do have a market of off-market listings. Sometimes when you take that exclusive for the first few days, and or if you just decide, you've signed it 2 months in advance of getting it ready, it's good to get an exclusive. You could put it on this off-market property thing, see what the interest is. It does follow Korea's rule of one-to-one sharing only, which is really good. Right. So you could either put it on our exclusive service for advertising, which really is only for 3 days, or you can actually put it on here for one-to-one sharing between brokers, right? Which is really good. It's got a few features in there as well for obviously things like assignments and commercial stuff that's allowed to be on the off market. So staging your home is super important. Emily, Sandra, are you guys fan of staging?
Oh, for sure. I have like some inventory of my own, but I also, my next door neighbor's a stager, so.
Perfect. And Sandra?
I think if a house is empty, it shows better staging. I mean, I made my builder stage the model homes. I think it's important. I
Yeah.
think, and I'm actually dealing with a little bit of something interesting with staging because I do have a condo that's empty and they want it staged and then they want me to pay for it. So there's a lot of discussion here because you have to be careful. Staging is very expensive,
Oh, yeah.
like very expensive. And so, right now I'm trying to discuss with my seller, how this is going to work, what it's going to look like, how long we're going to do it for, who's responsible, what if they cancel the listing. So you have to be careful because listing a property costs you a lot of money. People don't believe it, but I spend a lot of money on videos and advertising, everything. But then when you add staging in, you're really reducing your bottom line. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But and this market's super slow, so I don't know whether staging is going to make a difference. But anyway, I'm in the process of doing some staging right now for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm an interior decorator. I can walk in somebody's house and say, do this, do this, do this, which is great, but just depends on your seller too, I think.
Yeah, I think you're saying be careful right now in terms of, especially on the listing side of things. I know there has been some really aggressive top agents that get great commissions that do stage and they pay for the staging that were in a bit of a panic a year ago when they had, 12 homes staged at 5,000 a home. You can imagine how much is invested in that.
Yeah.
And then saying none of them are selling. What am I going to do? Like, I can't afford to do this. And the answer is you're right. I mean, the market shifted in terms of whether or not you pay for the staging or not. I always like working with a stager that has this innate ability to get the sellers to pay for the staging and make sure that they understand the importance of the fact that you're going to get more. It's an investment. And I will say there is not a time in 20 years I've ever been in where somebody has not got their value in the staging when it came to their sale price. What I mean by that is they sold for maybe 10 times the investment. So if they invest 5, you're going to get 50,000 more in your house. And I do believe in, now, Sandra, I'm not saying the 400,000 range, right? Like, it does matter, right? You're not going to spend, but I do know if you get 5 in the 400,000, you get your 5 back. I do believe that in terms of investment, but I actually do think a 10 times return on your investment is not uncommon when it
Yeah, I
comes
just
to
think you have
staging.
to set parameters. Like basically I said to them, you pay for the first month because now I have to do new pictures and everything. And then we'll split it for the second month. But 2 months is sort of our max.
May
That's
I
a-
make a suggestion?
Yeah, Isabel, nice to see you.
A lot of agents will ask their seller to pay for it up front, and then once the home closes, reduce that amount from the commission. That is one way that the
Yep.
seller has an investment in the property, and you're not stuck at the end of it having paid for something that doesn't sell.
Yeah,
Or
that's a
they
great
change their
idea.
mind. Like, a lot of things
Yeah.
can happen, right? Um, yeah, I was always, and I know the market shifted from when I sold and from where everybody's at now in terms of the expectation of paying for it from the realtor, right? That wasn't as, popular back, I say back, way back in the days. But when I was selling, I definitely paid for a staging report. They worked alongside the stager over the next 2 weeks, for example. It was part of my team. That stager would go in, work with them, and then they would convince them, "Hey, listen, I'll bring so and so, they'll paint this room, so and so will touch up this room." And they go, "Okay, yeah, go ahead and do it." There was never a question of whether or not I would have paid for that or not. It was just part of and it was really, really, but I will say the number one feedback I got from clients when I was selling was the staging was the highest value they saw in the service. And I'm not going to say I'm not a value, but that's, they did realize how much more that house went for in the end, properly staged. And I think it makes a huge difference. I spent a lot of time on this because I think it is a big topic to discuss and to have an answer depending on what you're going to offer But regardless, I'm always offering a free staging report so that they could see, and people make informed decisions, and that's our job, right? So just going through make sure I got enough battery left. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Making sure that we go through all the marketing materials that I'm going to do to showcase their home. Everything's top quality, printed off, properly, not just on paper that's, maybe at the office or something. I'll go out and actually, put together bound booklets and stuff. This is just part of what I used to do. You do what you want to do, but I will say right now, to compete against the people that are really putting their best foot forward from a value perspective, this stuff is high end now. And I do believe we should be leveraging that as well. The agents in public open houses, the importance of them. I know there are people like, they're just nosy neighbors. Yeah, well, that's okay. They can come through and they may know somebody. Or, if we have 20 people through, the one that does stop in. I always tell my story on this. I had a story which was absolutely the case, and it was flipped around, meaning that I was representing the buyers. But my buyers decided to stop in on an open house on a Sunday, and it was a really expensive house, really nice, like expensive, shouldn't say that. It was a really high priced home. So it was, really nice that they gave me a call after and said, we want to put an offer on this. We went through the open house. So I called the listing agent and said, listen, can I run through the house really quickly? I know you just finished up your open house. My people came through. Oh yeah, I saw your people through. By the way, there's another offer. And I said, oh, okay, I better get over there. So went through the house, did up the offer. We were in competition, ended up spending probably about 50,000 more for the house than they would have if there wasn't an offer, whether they were competing well over ask. That house was up for 2 months. So the fact that they had the open house that day worked for the seller. I'm not saying my buyer didn't get, what they want. They did. I represented them. We got the house. We won the house, but they paid $50,000 more for that house because they stopped in at an open house. Don't ask me why I didn't know that this was the one they wanted. Okay. It was just, buyers are liars and all the rest, but they stopped in, and the open house netted the seller at least $50,000 more because they have hosted the open. I always tell that story because you never know where you're going to be able to get two people interested at the same time. And two people interested, they bid against each other. And you always want a bidding situation when you're selling your house. I don't know that, like, anybody who doesn't want it bidded on is crazy, because you bring your best price, everyone. It's a so much easier situation because we're going to take the best the price, right? So agent open houses, public open houses, they work. And so I convince people of that. The online strategy, right? What are you doing online in order to get most people through as quickly as possible and to just stimulate that multiple offer situation? By the way, everyone, when I'm going through this, journey with, the seller's journey, or, everything you do for value, if you can put it in the way of the benefit to the seller based on their motivation, and motivated sellers are usually wanting more money for their house, right? That's a big motivation. Okay. Not everybody wants to sell it fast. Oh, I want to sell it quickly. I'll say, well, if it does sell quickly, it usually means we nailed the price and got the highest. But price is usually a motivator. So if you can say the industry's most advanced online strategy, I'm going to, take all these photos and do the video tours and property website. If I just say the features, they're not going to understand the benefit. The benefit to everything you do on these slides is always to generate more traffic, bring more offers, sell for a higher price, right? Advantage, industry's most advanced online strategy. The benefit to bring more buyers, hopefully at the same time, so that they compete. And then the benefit is to get more price. Okay. So I actually put that on the slides just as a reminder. Reach most buyers, get the best price. Advantage, benefit. And when you're selling anything, that's what you should be selling, is the benefit. Again, going through the online marketing, some statistical results from that. Buyer targeted advertising, what I'm going to do in the area to, let everyone know. We're not going to be the secret home on the market. We're going to be the one that's everybody knows about. keeping you informed, the importance of communication, obviously minimizing the stress, getting the best price. Why is that? Because we're reacting, we're making changes based on feedback from the selling and the showings, and working with you to, somebody saying, they felt that the home was a bit small, so let's remove some of the furniture, let's make it look bigger, let's, make it brighter, paint the walls out because they're all purple and we should be white, things that we may have to, do, step B instead of step A. Negotiations, right? And again, it comes back to that whole being certified, negotiating how I negotiate depending on situation. We don't have MoveSnap anymore, so I don't know why I used an older one. No, that's 2025. Delete. See, that's how easy you can edit. HomeSpot app, I did bring up because, I wanted to show some of the technology that we have for home buyers. So when they're searching for homes, but they also can keep home sellers up to date. It gives things like sold prices, so they don't have to call every day. So what did that sell for? What did that sell for? They can look on my app, but it's my app, right? It's your app. Whoever produces that QR code from Remarketer, it's in the general settings of your settings section under app. You can get these QR codes and it can give it to your seller and say, if you want to check out sold prices, the ones in the area, this does that for you. And it's branded for you. Financing, I go over, I give gifts on closing, which is one of them. I love these, the resortcerts.ca. I could talk about this for another little bit, but I won't. But if you go to that Century 21 site and say Explore Resorts, you as a realtor can, it costs you about $300 and just about $300 or $320, and you get a full week's vacation at any of the resorts that says no additional charge accommodations. It's a really good program. And then all of our discounts, and then I go through that whole listing presentation. So now, Sandra, Emily, I wanted to actually show Sandra some of the stuff that Sandra does, and I think it's great, right? You should always add in and or have different things that, to show what they do, right? You use iGuide, Sandra, as an example. So sometimes you'll have that popped
Yes.
open. This is an example of what, was this one of your listings or just an
No,
example?
that's my listing.
So this, how much?
We just dropped to 1.199.
Look at this, everyone. Imagine, wow, that's what lake's that?
That is the St. Lawrence, Lake Ontario.
That's the St. Lawrence, eh?
Yeah.
Wow. Anyone want to sell this for?
Oh, please. You got clients look, and it has its own private marina.
I could see a downside, like a retiree,
That's, the demographic here is very much snowbirds, retirees. It's very quiet in the winter and then busy in the summer.
Amazing. All right, let's look at some of this other stuff you have. All right, tell us a little bit about this.
So I think I sort of prefaced this by telling you I really don't do this, but I did have, I just was in like a competition where they said they were going to interview other people, and I felt like I should bring something to the table. So I did throw this together, and just sort of went through things. I had people contact me. This is for a condo. So
Yep.
their dad died. They were going to list his condo, and her brother was a bit of a know-it-all guy, and he thought he knew everything. He was a banker. And so she said, Sandra, like, you're going to have to bring us something because he wants to make sure that, like, he's going to interview all these agents. And I was like, okay, I'll put something together. So I put this together, and then I put together a rather large CMA package because I knew he was a banker. He was talking about numbers, and I was going to have to really sort of win him over with that. So I did do this specifically for this property, right? And I just,
Sandra, I love that, by the way. I just say, like, listing presentations, if we could all have lots of listing presentations, right? But you get that opportunity, and why not customize it for that house?
Yeah.
Every time that I ever did a customized listing presentation, I blew away the competition because I put thought into their homes. When I started getting complacent, because I've done so many of them, it was always great to be in that position. I had a standard way of doing it. I didn't put as much thought into everyone. It started to become a little bit, you always had to remember is no, go back to that customization, like for
yeah,
the,
I don't think I would do a listing presentation without it being custom.
It's
I will
amazing.
tell you, I don't think I'd ever bring a generic one.
That's great. No, which is, Sandra, I think it's the way to go. And, to have those templates, and with So the Canva side of things and AI and stuff like that, if you can have something ready to go that you can put customized pictures and customized thought into it, it's
Yeah.
probably a good idea.
Exactly.
So you just, again, showing a
Yeah,
few.
it's generic in some spots, and then I mean, I always do show people the iGuide and I show them a video. Honestly, it's the video that wins them every time. When they see like a really, professionally done high-end video, it's the thing that almost always gets me a listing.
Amazing. Customization of a CMA is important too,
Yeah.
right? Like I always used to bring some pretty generic CMAs that did, now I also know that the people I were going against don't bring CMA, like it
Yeah.
just, a lot of listing agents don't do proper CMAs. So having the thought and the calculations and the adjustments and stuff do help. But imagine it now with what we can do with marketing and AI and Canva and all the stuff that you guys are empowered with now. Utilize all that sort of stuff. What Sandra was talking about is these videos, and I'm just gonna turn on the sound a little bit here.
Welcome to Golden Haven Homes, where modern living meets timeless craftsmanship. One of the standout features of Golden Haven is not only its prime location, but the opportunity for secondary suites. This provides more space for family members, in-laws, or even rental income to boost your investment. These homes are more than just a place to live. This is an investment in your future. With 4 models to choose from, flexible down payment plans, and customizable finishes, we at Golden Falcon Homes make owning your dream home easier than ever. If you want to live in a fantastic community in Odessa, fill out the form below.
I can see why somebody would choose you. Like really the professionalism that go in these kind of makes you an influencer, right? Like, and then people are like, oh, okay, you know what you're doing, I love it.
Yeah, and people like to see that. I mean, that's for my builder, but the one I did for that condo,
Yeah. I'll show you
they
that one.
loved that video. Like they think that video and it really showcases the condo, and people just really, really, really like to see their if you go to the iGuide and go to video, you'll see it. But I thought I sent it to you as a separate.
You did. I was just
No,
getting it.
that's the builder one again.
Hey Siri.
So this is another one?
That's also a builder one, yeah.
I gotta see this one. It looks nice.
Okay.
Who's the best developer to buy a house from?
Golden Falcon Homes.
Wow, it's a nice house. Excuse me, I noticed Golden Falcon Homes is different from other builders and developers. What makes you a standout?
That's an excellent question. While many builders are focused on creating only luxury homes, our mission at Golden Falcon is very different. We focus on building high quality, affordable homes so that home ownership is possible for young people, first-time home buyers, and anyone who has a dream of owning a home. Our goal at Golden Falcon Homes is to make buying a home as stress-free as possible. We'll guide you through the process from securing a mortgage to simple payment plans to helping you move into your beautiful new home. We believe home ownership should be both a smart investment and an achievable dream for everyone.
Amazing. And then you said if I go to the iGuide?
Yeah, if you go to the iGuide and you go to video, this is one where we'll put the drone and stuff in too.
I think I lost everything. Where did I?
Who do you get to do your videos, Sandra?
So that was people from Toronto, but this one is a girl that I use in Kingston for any of my high-end stuff. The one, if Aaron shows you, the one from.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to.
If you go back to my email, I thought I put the YouTube link in, but.
You did,
Yeah.
Sandra.
I mean, those were, pretty over the top, but this is one that I would do for like so up top there, you see video, right? Yeah, there. Now this is when I was with EXP.
That's okay.
Mark, we have to edit that.
Welcome to the Stone and South condos in beautiful Gananoque. Hi, I'm Sandra McKenna with eXp Realty, and I'm excited to show you my newest listing, Unit 321, a stunning corner unit that you have to see to believe.
It feels like summer.
And it feels like summer. Feels like summer. And it feels like summer. Oh, there was something in your eyes that made me let go. Made me let go. Made me let go. We were sleeping in the backseat, talking to the moon. Had everything we needed. And now that winter's come and gone, I'm 17 again. My heart is beating stronger. And every time I think of you, it's taking me back there, taking me back there. And it feels like summer. And it feels like summer. Oh, it feels like summer.
Yeah, so I mean, people love them. I sometimes I talk more in the video, just depends on the video itself. I mean, that one really, it's a property that really is selling itself, but it's important, you know, the music's important. We get the most hits on these ones, for sure. We probably get, you know, I think on that one, we probably got 3,000 or 4,000. And sometimes the person that does the music, I did one of these waterfront condos and I used a Bob Marley song, and then Bob Marley's page shared it. So it got a lot of exposure because of that. So
Okay.
sometimes the music, they will share it on their site. So it's, but I honestly think it's the one thing when people contact me about a listing, what they always say is, I see your videos and I love them. So I just think it's really big. It's expensive. I lose a lot of, I won't say I lose a lot of money in a year, but when something doesn't sell or they've moved on to something else, I just have to eat all those costs. But you know what? It's definitely worth it.
Amazing. I'm really good at Zoom usually. I don't know what I do sometimes. I don't know how to
Today we're
change
all having a challenge.
these share settings. I'm gonna have to stop and reshare. Just give me 1 second. Stop. Reshare.
But I will say, Emily, I do use different people. So when I do a lower, I shouldn't say lower end listing, but when I do a mid-range listing, I have somebody else I use, and I don't necessarily put myself in the video. But when I do a high end listing, because this costs quite a bit more, I will then talk on camera, be in the video. And, but I use different people for different things depending on price point.
So having those as, you know, part of your seller journey, and by the way, those videos are almost like imperative now. People are doing them, and they're spending some, you know, a little bit of a. And actually, I think that price has come down for get a quality video like that. Used to be quite expensive, but I think now with what people are doing, it doesn't have to be an arm and a leg either, which is great. So how you do your CMA. So you've got your listing presentation. We've put them both in there. And then part of the other things to bring in your listing presentation, one is a CMA. So we did put in just a procedure on how to create a CMA on Realm. And there's a tutorial there as a video. So if anybody's looking for that. The next thing is your listing checklist. And I showed you guys a checklist and then all the listing paperwork that you're going to need, whether it be web forms or SkySlope. And of course, we're templated and stuff. But the checklist itself, I made it into a PDF as well as a doc for you guys. And there's some key date tracking to put on a checklist, like when is the pre-inspection date happening if you're doing one, staging, cleaning, MLS data sheet, the final forms, the date that you're going to have that signed, the listing live date, the date of the first open house, and then, you know, quick reference, especially if you have somebody doing an open house, what's the square footage, what's the age, shingles, roof, furnace, ducts, yeah, ducts too. Defects needing disclosure, any defects, those are key information. What to make sure you do on the pre-listing, the first day on the market, first week, weekly, and then after. So again, this is just something that could be very organized for you for the listing checklist. And then marketing. So when you put in the marketing, like Sandra did with the videos, put that as part of your marketing that you're doing for that listing. We have access to Back at You that will do automated posts. It'll also allow you to boost posts for your listing as well for some exposure. Spotlight is a company that we've used for many years. In-house, we help develop, and that gets your listing up on the first page of Google, and it gives you a really good lead capture tool as well. It's only $140 for the actual program. So if you're doing things like Sandra's video or any of the other videos that you're doing, or pictures even, or iGuides or anything, and you have somebody local you want to use that's not part of Spotlight, you can just bring it into Spotlight. That's not a problem. So I think this was really good for just, and there is a link to the listing package. So you can see the different packages. If you're using their photography, their videos or iGuides as well, local people that they source out for you. Okay. And then the social media posts and videos, just having a procedure for that. So what are you doing pre-launch? What are you doing post schedule and frequency? How often, what days you're doing certain things, such as, your post to Instagram, your property photos, property specific hashtags to make sure include behind the scenes as a teaser, short reels, highlight features, specific elements, call to actions, open house announcements, just listed recap, testimonial opportunity on day 7, paid boost campaigns. This is what I'm talking about in terms of actually putting a bit of I find people spend a lot of time promoting and doing the quality videos and promotion, but quality videos, but they don't do the promotion. They just post it on a couple sites in their own site, and you get very little views. I believe nowadays you have to do a paid boost campaign. I do think that every listing should have it. You spend enough on staging, you spend enough on the video, you might as well get the really good exposure by boosting your paid posts. You can do that if you know how to do it, or you can just go into Back At You, put your social video and or brick into Back At You, hit boost. It'll ask you the questions you need to answer, and they'll do it. They charge you a 10% overhead, but that's kind of worth it because they do actually get a good discount with Google as well. So it's kind of, I think it's really efficient. So Back At You is another way you can do it.
One thing about the paid boosting, I was a little disappointed with some of the paid boosts that I've done through Facebook, Instagram.
Okay.
I would set a target area, and then
Yeah.
I would get phone calls from people outside of that target area.
Okay.
And
You set the target area. There's questions that they ask you.
yeah,
Not sure if it was through Back At You or if it's through, you can really dive into people that have visited that area, people that are in that area, people that, so there are differences from that standpoint. Did you see those differences?
I honestly can't say that. The hard part is that I've only ever gotten responses from people who are outside of the area where I specifically, like, you pick a circle.
Yep.
This is your kilometer thing. I've only gotten responses from people who are well outside of that. So the last time I paid for a boost, I got a call from somebody who was in Waterloo
Yeah.
about an open house that I was doing. So not even my listing. I'm paying for it just to get my face out there. And he called first asking about the open house, and I'm like, okay, you're too far away. Like, you're probably not just going to drive over here for it. And he's like, no, I really just want to find out how I become an agent. And I'm like, oh my God, I paid $35 for this. I'm so disappointed and discouraged by it.
I don't know what happened there. There's a lot of things that could have happened. There's things like IP addresses that are run through VPNs. There's when you see the pop-up ads that come up on your screen because you're, on a site that, pays for pop-up ads or gets paid for pop-up ads, and it says you're Aurora, and I'm like, I live in Newmarket. They think I'm in Aurora because the IP address was associated with a Rogers account in Aurora. Like, there are different things that can happen. The other thing is, there's some really good ones that if you dive right in deep or get somebody who knows it, every time I drive by the Niagara Outlet Mall, the one that Niagara, I get a pop-up for, I think it's Banana Republic. And it tells me, it says, come on in, every time. I know it's there. So what it does is it geofences around when I actually drive it. Not for where I live, but it knows that I'm driving by the outlet mall, and it says, by the way, come on in. And I was like, wow, that's really good. Like, so don't let it discourage you. You may want to look a little bit more into those different settings that you can use. One thing I will say is that, and it's changing every day, but housing was limited a few years back in terms of having those ability to really, because they felt that us realtors were, taking advantage of certain things, or I don't know, got into demographics.
Yeah, you still have to disclose on Facebook if it's real estate related.
You do, and but it does a good job of finding the people that have been searching for homes. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's like, you know what, Emily, I know this person's outside your area, but they've been all over Keswick's, realtor.ca page, and
Mhm.
this may be a lead for you, right? Happen to live in
I would
Waterloo.
take that any day. I don't want phone calls from people in Waterloo who want to become agents.
Well, Facebook's usually pretty good. And when I say Facebook, I mean Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp, because that's the three that they own. So it's quite good. But anyway, so I wouldn't get discouraged. I just, it's one of those, it's kind of like I don't want to put my, back in the day it used to be like I don't want to go in the paper, it's expensive and nobody sees it. Well, there's a lot of advantages to it, especially if you're geo farming an area. Now with geo farming, yeah, you're gonna get some outside, but you get the ones inside too. I don't know. It's it's a hit miss A/B, testing that you have to do, but I wouldn't give up on it. I do think it's very valuable.
Okay.
Yeah. And then your ongoing engagement. So have a social strategy with every listing. And just, this is what I do. This is what I do. Again, you can say 101 different reasons why, sending just listed phone or cards, well, they don't get delivered on time, or they don't get delivered by the, somebody didn't deliver. I don't know. There's so many different things that could happen, but you kind of just have to go with a thought out system for every listing. And that's just what you do. And you'll get success with consistency. So you got Back at You Spotlight, you got your social media posts and everything. There's going to be other things you do for marketing you can add in there. Obviously I did put holding off for multiple offers as one of them. So if you're listing, actually this was, I haven't showed you guys this. If you're listing and you're doing it for the specific sense of holding off for multiple offers, there is literally a really important system for making sure it's done properly. So from putting listing instructions into Broker Bay and what that looks like. So when you put the instructions to put some thought into that and how it's, you're instructing people for holding off offers, as well as the standard procedure for how to hold off offers, right? And why you would do it. And where. So I did a video back a year ago on this, and I've done it for a few different years. And so I've included that as well for how to hold off for multiple offers. So again, it's part of your marketing proposal and, part of your listing. People are going to ask, right? I see people are holding off offers. Is that thing to do still? Do we, they're going to want to know whether or not that's part of your marketing strategy. And it will turn around and be like that again someday. So you need to have that. Your open houses and how you're going to host them. So we put the full open house checklist in there, as well as the procedure on hosting an open house. So everything from ahead of time and pre-open house to the morning of, to the after the open house, as well as the standard procedure. So walks you through and just teaches you the open house. And then the full seller's journey all wrapped up into one. So there's a whole checklist. So, you have your listing presentation, but here's the full checklist of everything you do ahead of time, preparing, marketing, communication, negotiation, moving, closing day. So put it all in one like checklist item. Okay, so that's all in there for you guys. So that's the seller's journey. Next week, Sandra and Emily, do you want to get into like some of the sources, some of your marketing? So when you click on the marketing section, there's farming, for example, as a source. That could be a big topic. We've already talked about pop buys. I think farming's probably the next step. Open houses was another one. I'll bring that one in here as well. So open houses, farming, there's postcard programs. Yeah, I think farming would be a good one to go into next week. Anything from your side that you're going to or have questions about for this week? Anything that you're going into this week wanting to know? And
Well, one of the things that I noticed with the listing presentation, I've seen a lot of people doing like these whole like pizza box things. What is your take on that?
sorry,
Have you
when you
seen
say
those?
pizza box,
It's
you
like
mean
literally they have a pizza box, they brand it with their stuff, and then they have like their selling guide, but they also have like a bunch of stuff in there.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. I never heard it as the pizza box scenario, but we're working with a company right now, and there's a few Century 21s out there right now that are doing this, and we're working with them as well, where they have listing packages, and we're trying to get Century 21 to brand it across Canada, so they can release it as a whole brand thing. But I don't know if they're into it or not. So the idea is that you have a listing package and you have giveaways in there. So you can have notepads and buy guides and all your marketing material. I think it's impressive if you show up with a lot of these things. So yes, the answer is I think they're a good idea. And I think that, we are going to be putting them together, and then we're going to be able to, it's better that we do it and put our resources in to say, here is a package you can purchase, rather than you have to figure out how to do it. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'll do it, and then they never get it done. So we're going to do one. You can always do it yourself. But I think a Century 21 branded box with your listing presentation, guides, pens, notepads. Some people are giving away, security cameras, lock boxes, signs for the front of the house, for the open house, like anything you want to package as your complete seller's kit, something like that. So to answer your question, yeah, I think it's great. And we are looking at doing that moving forward. What do you think?
I'm curious how much all of it's going to cost, because I'm all about how much things cost, but also I like the idea. I just don't know, like, if it's effective. That's the biggest thing. Is it actually successful, or is this something that I've seen on Facebook that agents are trying to like sell you as, oh, do this thing, it's so successful for me, and by the way, you could just order through my website down here, kind of thing. Like, I don't know what the success rate is coming with a whole listing package, or some people just don't even show up with anything at all and just sell themselves.
Well, and Sandra's saying that's what she does.
Yeah, exactly.
We have this little society. It's called Centurion Society, and we get some speakers every month on there. And one of the speakers, Brad Miller, and he's got the #1 team in the world for Century 21. He does 10 million GCI, and he was the first person to say, one of the things I got to improve on, I don't have a listing presentation. It's like, you don't need it. Is it going to help? You tell me. Is that something for me, I think it would help me for sure, because I'm a techie person. I like being on the edge. I like being, like, one of my values is I'm ahead of the technology curve. I'm going to promote your property. I'm really good at marketing. Show me. So when you show up with something that's well marketed and really techie, just solidifies the fact that, yeah, you're right, that person is techie. But if you're showing up and you're winning it because of your personality, you would have won it anyway. So does it matter? Well, it is $250 worth the spend. I don't know. When it comes to listing presentations and clients, I don't think there's an amount there is an amount, but when it comes to, like, whether it's $250 or $2,000, would do it, because what you make on listings and your business and building your, we make a good income, and
yeah, it's just hard for for me. I'm basically, I don't have the income to support the 2,000, obviously.
Well, and
if I had a listing guaranteed, I would be putting that into the staging, the marketing, and everything else, but not in just securing them as a client. And even $250 for securing somebody as a client seems like a pretty high expense for me, because I just don't have that backup of money.
I've got an answer for that, but Sandra, go ahead.
Yeah. I think there's different scenarios here, right? And I think the thing is that, like, are you always competing for a listing? I never compete for a listing. I think I've competed maybe probably both times I did those listing presentations in my life. I think there's differences. If somebody says to you, hey, I want you to list my house, awesome, right? Like, you're not I shouldn't say you're not. You are going to go, you're going to talk to them, you're going to walk them through this whole process. Yes, absolutely. You can bring this with the checklist and show them stuff, but I would say, in that situation, I don't think you need to spend $250 or $100 or $10. I mean, whatever. You're just going there to talk to them about the process of listing their house and what you're going to do for them and how you're going to list their house and how you're going to sell it. I think maybe you guys are in a bit of a different market than we are here. So it's kind of rare here. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, and I don't know, everybody else can chime in. Mark, I know Mark's competed a couple of times. So I think it's really, almost everybody knows a real estate agent. So if it's somebody that knows nobody and then they're going to bring in 3 or 4 people, yeah, you might want to up your game. And in that situation, I would say you want to do whatever you can humanly possibly do to get the listing. And because I agree with Aaron, we make decent money off this, and whatever we're going to spend to get it, it's smart. But if you're the only person going into it, really, you should be just bringing your knowledge and yourself and what you're bringing to the table. So I think you got to be, I don't think you should get hung up so much on the cost of a listing presentation. I think you should pay attention to the people that want you to list their house and learn a lot about them, because I can go in and if I look around and I see pictures of hockey players and their kids play hockey or whatever, that's my conversation. It's probably not about real estate until I'm an hour in. And then I go, okay, let's talk about your house. So I think you gotta, I would weigh that a little bit.
What I will say is, Sandra, it's actually demographically, yes, there are different things that different areas do. It's more demographically on your business, where your business comes from. What I mean by that is repeat referral business rarely competes. So your repeat referral, the people you're working with you're really competing with anyone else. If you get into geofarming, you will be competing. When people don't
The hard
know
part for
you,
me is that I don't have any repeat clients because I don't have
But
that many.
I don't get I mean, my listings aren't necessarily repeat clients. People just phone me. Like I'll just get a phone. Oh, I saw your sign, and then I'm like, great,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
So in those situations, I've never met this person, and they just, so what I'm saying is, you're right. Yeah, maybe I kind of luck into some things where they're not picking other people. Go ahead, Mark, sorry.
Well, I didn't intend to say anything there. Sorry.
Oh.
I guess the one thing I'd like to add, though, is often people will have their mind 90% made up before, even if they're bringing multiple agents in, they are leaning in a direction already.
yeah, most do. If I get an opportunity that I have struggled for, I've door knocked, I've opened housed, I've put ads in the paper, I boosted ads, I did everything, and I spent, because there's a cost acquisition for every customer, right? So it's the amount of customers and what you spent last year. That's your cost acquisition. But now I'm face to face with that person. I did everything I spent time and money to get at the table. I'm here now. If I have to spend another 250 to impress them, I'm spending 250, I'm spending 500, I'm spending at that. What I'm saying is that if you don't go through with it at the table, why did you spend all the money trying to get to the table, right? So anything that gives you an advantage at the table, I think is super, super important. To Sandra's point too, obviously, if you're really good, and Sandra, you're really good, you're a networker, you're really good at people. Right. And
Yeah,
so
but
you
I've
can get
lost
that,
listings.
you can
Like I
get
have
that
lost
listing.
listings.
No, and
So,
you're going to have
I
a
mean,
percentage of lose. Yeah.
yeah. But also too, Emily, I think the other thing is sometimes, and I'll tell you this, sometimes you lose that listing presentation, but the person that wins it doesn't sell that house, and you'd be surprised how you might get a call back then and say, hey, you know what? I really liked you. This didn't work out. We're going to go in a different direction, and you might get that phone call. So
Right.
it's worth putting all the effort in, even if you don't get it. I didn't get one, and they just sold their house, and I sent them an email and I said, oh my God, I'm so happy for you guys. Congratulations on the sale of your house. That was so fast. You must be thrilled. Even though I didn't get the listing, I lost it. Somebody else got it. I saw that it sold. I kept an eye on it, and then I sent them an email. You know what? Maybe down the road they'll remember me.
Oh, sorry. Were you about to say something, Mark? I
Yes.
muted you because there was some background.
Oh, there's some background. Sorry. I'm in the middle of the office. In that light, I'm wondering if you guys price homes differently when you're in competition versus not.
So when you say price homes, there's a strategy and we talked about last week, actually, Sandra, it's a strategy with pricing homes. I definitely shift it away from pricing homes. You're not choosing me today because of the home price. And if you do, that'd be a big mistake.
But they'll ask you, and it's tough.
They will ask
and
you.
They will ask, and I think, you know, there's some agents that will way overprice to get a listing.
Yep.
Like I could 9 times out of 10, that's exactly what will happen. They will way overprice in order to get a listing. Usually doesn't work out in the long run. The one thing I always try and do is ask somebody what they want to get for their house. It's a sneaky way to do it. Sometimes they'll tell you, sometimes they won't, but it is a fine line there. You want the listing, you need to be realistic, but you also understand that people have high expectations.
Do you want to, there's a story for you on this one, Mark. You'll get a kick out of this one. There's a local guy in town, and anybody who's knowing Newmarket knows who this is. He always historically overprices listings, always. Like, he's just known for it. He'll do that. He'll put a price on it, go in a listing presentation. He'll beat you just because he said, and he did. He beat me because he said, my people came back, Aaron, we were going to use it, but he said he could get like 500,000 more. Like, and I'm like, there's no way he's going to get that. Right. And like, but we have to try. He got it for a friend of mine and this and that, you know, so he made all these promises. But they told me how he came up with his number, and this was his strategy. I know exactly what he does, which is really interesting. He has 3 CMAs, okay? All 3 of them are in his briefcase, okay? And to Sandra's point, what he does, he gets into a conversation about what they think it's worth. And he'll convince them, he says, listen, I've already prepared my CMA, so it doesn't matter what you tell me. I'm not going to change my number. It's on paper, right? So he gets them to say, well, we think it's worth 1.2. Well, would you be pleasantly surprised if I think, and then he comes in and he grabs the one that's 1.3, he knows which one's 1.3, pulls out 1.3 and says, I can get you 1.3. So now he's above their expectation of price, and he wins the listing presentation by grabbing the right CMA from the price. So to answer your question, yeah, there's agents that do that. Now, does he have a reputation for overpricing? Is that good for his business? You know, these are all the questions you want to ask yourself. Is it better that he has the listing? He thinks so, because he gets buyers off of it. So when I go in a listing presentation, I'll always say there's 3 types of agents. And if you have 3 and you get all 3 of them, that's amazing. But typically 3 types. One that will go over price and they'll buy your listing because it helped them get buyers. The second person will be really low because they're uneducated, and typically they did a improper CMA. You don't want to go with somebody underprices your listing. And then you'll go with the person that put a lot of thought, and that person typically does their adjustments and provides a proper report, can justify everything they're saying, and will do the most they can to get the best price for your house. I believe that this range of price that I've given you today is the marketable price that I know I can maximize the price of your house. But be wary of somebody who overprices, because then you'll get less than what I'm coming to you today with, because people think your house is overpriced and stagnant, and something's wrong with it. Nobody else is buying it. Why should I? Mentality. And then the person, of course, that's uneducated. So, you know, and then I get their reaction. But that's how I handled price when I did my listing presentations. And
however, there are sellers that will tell you the price. And I mean, Mark knows this, he's actually dealing with somebody like this. So he has a seller that gave him a price. It was totally unreasonable. Mark and I've talked about this many times. The price, it was never happening. However, what I said to Mark is, oh, well, this is their price. So take the listing because you might get some buyers out of it. In that situation, he was kind of in a no-win. Now, over time, they've become more realistic because, of course, the feedback has now, you know, that it's way too high, way too high, way too high, you know, and then, so I think sometimes if it's the seller that is completely unwilling to move, then in that situation, if you explain, hey, you know what, I'll do it, but I'm just telling you, I think that we're above where we should be at the market. You've told them up front, you take it anyway, because you might get some sellers, but eventually you might be able to talk them into lowering the price.
Are you ever concerned, Sandra, though, with taking over prices, not selling? People actually think you don't know what you're doing and actually.
And believe me, I make sure that every time an agent calls me for a showing, I phone them and I say, just so you know, that the seller has decided this is the price of their house, but let's go have a look. And then I want you to be honest with the feedback, and I'd love to be able to sell it, but let me know what you think we're at market. I'm really careful with that.
I'm just concerned sometimes with the neighbors and, you know, especially in your market. So if you're geofarming, for example, and your reputation is everything, my suggestion is don't take an overpriced listing unless they're willing to have a schedule, like a plan B, and they sign it ahead of time saying, I will reduce to this price after a certain amount. And it's got to be better than the price that I first even came to, because you got to make sure you sell it. If you do not sell a house in your farm area, all of a sudden all that marketing can really, I'd rather take and this is what we did with that listing I was talking about. We said, go with this person. And when he can't sell it, will you come back to me? And they promised they would, and they did. And we ended up.
I like that too. That's always the best case
And I
scenario.
said, I also told him, don't take a 3-month listing, take a 2-month listing, because they're not allowed 30 days on the MLS, but take a 2-month listing only, and have a pre-cancellation signed. And they still signed a 3-month listing, but they came back in 3 months. And yeah, we had a tough time at that point in time trying to bring it to a price that people will finally bring it to, because it's stagnated, right? So they kind of lost on that one, but we did get it sold eventually, which was nice. So anyway, there's different ways to deal with it, but an overpriced listing, that's a great topic. It really is, because there's advantages to having listings, guys. Listings are gold, right? It's your not silent seller. It's literally the seller. It's one thing that, you know, people will look at and say, well, they're a successful agent. Their names are on signs, right? Like, it gives you a lot of clout, but yeah, something doesn't sell.
So this is relevant to me this weekend, because I told you that condo that I showed you, I have 4 of them in there, and there was a new one listed on Friday, and it's so overpriced. Like, it's kind of a joke. And every one of my clients messaged me and said, oh my God, Sandra, did you see this? And I'm like, I'm so pumped. I said, this is the best thing that's ever happened to us. And I said, because this is going to work in our favor. You guys, your places look like the Taj Mahal, and this one's $300,000 more. And I had a conversation with all of them, and I'm like, guys, this is so great. And they're like, but what were they thinking? I said, I don't care what they were thinking. I said, this is just going to help us. So it's interesting to me.